Welcome to an in-depth look at two major global crises that are shaping our world today: the Ukraine war and the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas. These events, while geographically distant, have immense repercussions that ripple across economies, politics, humanitarian systems, and international stability. In this video, we will analyze the wide-reaching effects of these conflicts, from energy disruptions to the erosion of trust in global governance. If you find this analysis insightful, make sure to like this video and subscribe for more content that keeps you informed on critical global issues. 1. Disruption of global energy markets. The Ukraine war has had a seismic impact on energy supplies, particularly in Europe, which was heavily dependent on Russian gas and oil before the conflict. As Western nations imposed sanctions on Russia, the latter retaliated by reducing its energy exports. This has caused unprecedented price hikes and led Europe to scramble for alternative sources, such as liquefied natural gas from the United States and investments in renewable energy. At the same time, tensions in the Middle East, due to the Israel-Hamas conflict, have raised concerns about the stability of the world's largest oil-producing region. Speculative fears about disruptions to supply lines from the Middle East have further contributed to global price volatility. Together, these conflicts are reshaping energy policies and intensifying the global push toward energy diversification and sustainability. 2. Rising global food insecurity. Ukraine is one of the world's leading exporters of wheat, corn, and sunflower oil. The war has significantly hindered its ability to export these essential commodities, causing ripple effects on global food prices. Countries in North Africa and the Middle East, which heavily rely on Ukrainian grain, have been particularly affected, with food shortages exacerbating existing challenges in these regions. In Gaza, the humanitarian blockade has severely limited access to food supplies. The destruction of infrastructure, combined with the inability to transport aid efficiently, has created a dire situation. These crises, compounded by global economic inflation, have placed immense strain on low-income nations and vulnerable populations worldwide. 3. Economic realignments and sanctions fallout. Sanctions imposed by Western nations on Russia have created a significant realignment in global trade. Countries such as China and India have stepped in to purchase Russian oil and gas at discounted rates, challenging traditional trade dynamics. Meanwhile, Western economies have faced the dual challenges of maintaining sanctions and absorbing the economic blowbacks of rising energy costs. Similarly, the Israel-Hamas conflict has economic ramifications that extend beyond the region. Key trade routes, including those in the Eastern Mediterranean, are at risk of being disrupted, adding to the complexities of global commerce. 4. Humanitarian crises and refugee waves. The Ukraine conflict has created one of the largest refugee crises in modern history, with millions of people fleeing to neighboring countries such as Poland and Romania. This mass displacement has placed immense pressure on European nations to provide shelter, healthcare, and other resources. Meanwhile, the Israel-Hamas conflict has led to a humanitarian catastrophe in Gaza, with hundreds of thousands of people displaced in a densely populated region. The destruction of homes, hospitals, and infrastructure has overwhelmed humanitarian agencies, which are already stretched thin by simultaneous global crises. 5. Polarization of international politics. The Ukraine war has intensified divides between Western nations, aligned with NATO, and countries such as Russia and China, leading to a deepening of Cold War-style tensions. Similarly, the Israel-Hamas conflict has highlighted ideological divides between nations supporting Israel and those advocating for Palestinian rights. These polarizations have strained diplomatic relations and reduced the scope for international collaboration on other pressing global issues, such as climate change and poverty alleviation. 6. Challenges to international governance. Both conflicts highlight the limitations of international governance institutions, such as the United Nations. The inability to enforce resolutions, mediate effectively, or prevent escalations has undermined trust in these organizations. In Ukraine, violations of sovereignty and international law have gone largely unchecked, while in Gaza, The targeting of civilians and destruction of infrastructure have drawn widespread condemnation, but little tangible action. The erosion of faith in international mechanisms risks creating a vacuum where unilateral actions become the norm, further destabilizing global order. 7. Escalation of regional instabilities. The Ukraine war has emboldened other nations to pursue aggressive territorial claims, as the global response to the conflict is closely observed. Similarly, the Israel-Hamas conflict risks escalating into a broader regional war involving neighboring countries and non-state actors, such as Hezbollah in Lebanon. These developments highlight how localized conflicts can quickly spiral into broader crises, threatening regional and global stability. 8. Proliferation of disinformation and propaganda. Both conflicts have been accompanied by widespread misinformation, often spread through social media platforms. In Ukraine, state-sponsored propaganda and manipulated narratives have fueled divisions both within the country and internationally. The Israel-Hamas conflict has similarly been marked by competing narratives that shape public opinion and influence policy decisions worldwide. The rise of disinformation complicates efforts to understand these conflicts objectively and hinders diplomatic resolutions. 9. Long-term economic and social costs. The economic consequences of these conflicts extend beyond immediate disruptions. Rebuilding infrastructure in Ukraine and Gaza will require billions of dollars and decades of effort. In addition, the psychological toll on displaced populations and those living in conflict zones will have lasting effects on societies. Economically, nations involved in sanctions and military spending face long-term challenges, including slowed growth and strained budgets. This is particularly true for countries heavily reliant on energy imports or affected by disrupted trade routes. The psychological toll on displaced populations is another factor with long-term economic implications. Refugees and internally displaced persons often face challenges in integrating into new communities, accessing employment, and regaining stability. Prolonged periods of displacement can lead to generational poverty, as children may lack access to education and adults may lose years of economic productivity. This compounds the social and economic strain on host countries, particularly in regions already struggling with limited resources and high unemployment. 10. Accelerating global transitions. One of the few potential silver linings of these crises is the acceleration of global transitions. In Europe, the Ukraine war has highlighted the need to reduce dependence on Russian energy, prompting faster adoption of renewable technologies. Similarly, the instability in the Middle East has underscored the importance of diversifying energy sources and securing supply chains. These transitions, while necessary, will require significant investments and international cooperation, which may be hindered by ongoing geopolitical tensions. The Ukraine war and the Israel-Hamas conflict are stark reminders of how interconnected our world has become. Their impacts are felt across continents, affecting everything from energy and food security to humanitarian aid and international diplomacy. Understanding these crises is essential for addressing their immediate challenges and building a more resilient future. Thank you for joining this analysis. If you found this discussion valuable, please like this video and subscribe for more in-depth explorations of global events. Your support helps us continue delivering content that keeps you informed and engaged.